Palestinian medics say more than 300 people have been killed after Israel launched a series of airstrikes in Gaza early on Tuesday.
Around 60 tons of oil leaks from a transformer station near Oslo in a suspected act of sabotage.
EU's top diplomat Kaja Kallas warns Russia doesn't want peace and can't be trusted to advance that goal ahead of the Trump-Putin call. At least 300 people have been reportedly killed and more than 100 injured after Israel launched extensive airstrikes in Gaza on Tuesday. Local reports quoting the Hamas-run health ministry said many of the dead included children and women who were gathered to break their Ramadan fast. The deadly strikes came early on Tuesday morning after talks to extend the fragile Gaza ceasefire failed to reach an agreement. Israel's Prime Minister's office said it instructed the army to target Hamas across the Gaza Strip and blamed the strikes on Hamas's refusal to release hostages. Meanwhile, Gaza's health ministry has warned the death toll may rise, while Hamas condemned the latest raids, holding Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu responsible for what it called an unprovoked escalation against Palestinians. Israeli authorities have said they will keep fighting in Gaza for as long as the hostages are not returned and its war aims are not achieved.
Around 60 tons of oil leaked out of an oil transformer station near Oslo on Sunday. A hole had reportedly been cut in a fence surrounding the premises, and the cover at the bottom of the transformer was unscrewed and left open.
Det ser ut til at noen har brutt seg inn og skrudd av et deksel nede på transformatoren, og så latt det stå åpent sånn at det rent ut masse olje.
National power grid operator Statnett believes the incident was an act of deliberate sabotage. However, police said in a statement that they currently have no concrete evidence to confirm that this is the case. While the oil isn't harmful to humans, it can have a detrimental impact on the environment. Oil barriers and absorbents have been deployed to contain and clean up the spill.
Russia doesn't want peace and can't be trusted to advance that goal, according to the EU's top diplomat, Kaja Kallas. Kallas's warning came after the announcement of a phone call between US President Donald Trump and his Russian counterpart, Vladimir Putin.
And now, of course, the ball is in Russia's court, and what we see right now that Russia doesn't really want peace. And also, what was understanding around the table is that Russia can't really be trusted. So they will, seize this opportunity to present all kinds of demands. And what we already see, they are presenting demands that are their ultimate goals. So let's see how this develops further.
Kallas's comments come as EU foreign ministers met to discuss the situation in Ukraine and elsewhere. Hungary's Foreign Minister Peter Szijjártó said his nation opposed a plan promoted by Kallas to spend further resources on weapons supplies to Ukraine.
Mi nem engedjük, hogy a magyar emberek pénzét további fegyverszállításokra, ezáltal a háború meghosszabbítására költsék el. Magyarországnak nem érdeke a fegyverszállítások fenntartása és a háború folytatása. Magyarországnak érdeke a béke, és most ehhez a békéhez minden eddiginél közelebb vagyunk, hogyha az elmúlt 3 évet vesszük figyelembe.
Both Kallas's and Szijjártó's comments are a reaction to Putin's non-committal answer to the White House's proposal for a 30-day ceasefire in Ukraine. The Russian leader asked for nuances to be clarified, including whether Western weapon supplies would continue.
Canada's new Prime Minister, Mark Carney, visited Paris on Monday to meet with French President Emmanuel Macron, seeking European support as US President Donald Trump continues to attack Canada's sovereignty and economy. Since Trump came to office, he has imposed sweeping tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminium and repeatedly commented on turning Canada into the 51st US state. infuriating Canadians and sparking a call to boycott U.S. products across the country. Carney said he hopes to work with France and the rest of Europe to maintain positive relations with the U.S.
With you, Mr. President, I want to ensure that France and the whole of Europe works enthusiastically with Canada, the most European of non-European countries, determined like you to maintain the most positive possible relations with the United States.
It's a powerful message. Canada's new Prime Minister, Mark Carney, chose France as his first foreign trip since taking office last Friday. And just as tensions are at an all-time high between Canada and the US, Carney is signaling that he wants to get closer to his European allies, including French President Emmanuel Macron. Both Macron and Carney said on Monday that it's important to continue to support Ukraine as well as European security at a time when U.S. President Donald Trump is growing closer to Russia's President Vladimir Putin. Carney's itinerary signals that Canada is growing closer to its former colonial powers rather than with its traditional ally and direct neighbor, the United States.
Representatives from Turkey, Greece, the UK, EU and the Turkish and Greek Cypriot leaders met in Geneva to discuss the possibility of reopening negotiations on reunification of the Mediterranean island. Cyprus has remained divided since 1974, when Turkish forces invaded and occupied the northern part of the island.
United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres is hosting talks in the imposing Palais des Nations in Geneva to discuss the future of Cyprus with Greek and Turkish Cypriot leaders and representatives from Greece, Turkey and the United Kingdom, which are the guarantor states. During the talks, the representatives will explore the possibility of reopening negotiations for a solution. The island remains divided and occupied more than 50 years after the invasion of the Turkish forces. While supporters of a solution value the mere convening of the meeting, they acknowledge that expectations are very low. According to Turkish diplomatic sources, the meeting is expected to discuss views on the Cyprus issue for the upcoming period and is not meant to be a continuation of past negotiation processes or the beginning of a new negotiation process. On the other hand, shortly before departing for Geneva, the President of the Republic of Cyprus, Nikos Christodoulidis, spoke of limited expectations, but at the same time he said that during the talks they should exploit all the possibilities for reopening the negotiations. Whether this is a meeting that will confirm the gap in the views of the two sides or pave the way for new talks remains to be seen in the next hours when the two sides show their cards. Faidal Gary, Euronews, Geneva.
On the day Italy commemorates its COVID victims, survivors of the pandemic feel blessed. Sergio is among them. Today, he's more thankful than ever to the doctors who saved his life at this hospital in Rome 5 years ago.
Mi ha fatto una grande emozione, si sente anche ritrovare il dottor Magliacani, vedere tutto il reparto, capire che qui ci sono passato e sono tornato a casa, altri non lo hanno fatto.
He recalls the moment that changed everything for him.
Tripli guanti, tripla mascherina, quindi erano veramente irriconoscibili. Però mi aveva colpito questo sguardo che era uno sguardo come se ti dicesse calma, pace, tranquillità, sereno, ci siamo noi. E invece nel momento in cui mi ha detto lei è gonfio, gli occhi si erano chiusi, erano gelidi, era diventata la professionista, non era più soltanto il medico che ti confortava, lì doveva decidere in un attimo quello da fare.
Dr. Magliacani compares the pandemic to a monster. He tells us that the most difficult part was seeing patients in pain.
È stata una cosa tragica, per cui abbiamo visto morire persone che chiedevano la mano, non potevano vedere nessuno, tragica. vedere morire le persone tragicamente, così, soli. E quella è stata la cosa peggiore.
But not all have shown gratitude for the work we have done, Dr. Magliacani tells us. Society and institutions, he says, seem to have forgotten how crucial our role was. Giorgio Orlandi for Euronews in Rome.
People dressed up in green and gathered in cities, towns and villages worldwide to celebrate St. Patrick's Day. Ireland's main parade in Dublin, with its extravagant floats and colourful acts, attracted hundreds of thousands of people from across the world. Roughly 4,000 people and 12 marching bands from across Ireland, North America and Austria took part in the parade. Meanwhile, in the United States, many people across different states were also celebrating, as the country has a large Irish diaspora. New York City hosts one of the largest and oldest parades in the U.S. And on Saturday, the city of Chicago dyed its river green, an annual tradition. Lithuania seemed inspired by the concept and similarly dyed its capital's river green as well. The city of Vilnius celebrates St. Patrick's Day each year, hosting various events and festivities, including live Irish music and dancing.